We are. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to a new Being Breath series titled Here, where we talk about being here as well as here, what we're offering to the world, how we are creatively engaging with the world. And I am unbelievably honored to have my first guest be Aarathi Selvan. You can see her face there, and I'm going to bring her up. I don't even remember when we met. It was quite a while ago, but ever since then, I have been fascinated with her work. She is a licensed psychotherapist both in the U.S. and in India. She is a mindfulness guide. She is a mother. She is a contemplative artist. I have one of her gorgeous journals. She does so much work in the world that is inspiring and helpful both to me and to all of those people that she has reached out and touched. So I cannot imagine anybody better to start this series with. So I wanted to first say welcome, Aarathi. I'm going to pull you up. There we go. Oh, yay. I'm learning this technology. So
thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will acknowledge, too, we are the beauty of technology right now. It is 9 o'clock in the morning here, yeah, and 6:30 p.m. Over 6:30, 6:40, something like that p.m. over in India. So I love this that we can both find this time of solitude amidst motherhood and creativity to find this time to connect. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about how we have done that as well. But I just wanted to start off for those who don't know you, for those who haven't had the good fortune of coming to get to know you. Tell us a little bit about what you do in the world, about what you do when you offer to the world.
Okay. So I am, as you said, I am a licensed psychotherapist in the US and India. I am also a mindfulness guide and a contemplative artist. I am also, mama to two little babies. One of them is how old is he? One of them is 1 year old, and the other one is a 3-year-old baby girl. So right now, what I do really is I run e-courses online, primarily for mothers on mindfulness, and I also have a private practice, and I run workshops on creativity as well as mindfulness, in-person workshops here in India. So that's what I do.
Yes, and they are such wonderful workshops as well too. I can speak from experience, and I only wish that I could come and take those ones in India as well too, and just be there in person with you, learning the creative journaling alongside you. Absolutely gorgeous. How these things that you do, we always end up doing these things in the world, and it's a constantly evolving process. So, obviously you have a lot going on in your life right now. Tell me a little bit about the winding road that kind of got you here, some of the pivotal points that wound around where you just went, oh, look, here I am, and now I'm doing this, and now I'm doing this.
Thank you so much for asking that, and I really do think it is evolving as we evolve, and I think for me it began. I don't know. It's difficult to sort of put a finger on it, but I do recognize that when I went for my master's at Columbia University, I did a master's in counseling psychology, and I think I've always been this person who's always been on an overdrive, always sort of being busy and trying to accomplish, and always busy. I mean, I think I am pretty much of a recovering workaholic, and it is so easy for me to slip into that place of trying to work, trying to be so busy, and really, and in that sort of losing connection with my body, losing connection with with my husband, with my children, it's so easy for me to get into that place again. But I was at that point, when I was doing my masters. I was there, very busy, very sort of trying to do everything, wanting to learn a lot, and I was so stressed that I my body started showing signals, of wanting to stop. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome. Um, I had these, several different stress-related physical symptoms coming up, and I would only stop to to become okay, to recover from that, and then sort of go on this drive again. It's a relentless sort of pursuit, and only once in a while I would really. So I had practices of. I was trained in mindfulness while I was doing my master's program, and I also did a teacher's training in yoga. And it's so interesting because I think on an intellectual level, I understood it, but it was really hard for me to live it on an everyday basis. And then I moved back to India, and it continued, that pursuit, sort of that rush, to be in that rush and to accomplish and to do more. And then I don't think it would have ever stopped, but it did. It stopped after I had my baby, my first baby. And even at that point, it was interesting because even at that point, I think after 15 days after she was born, I was still thinking about, okay, shouldn't I be going back to work? I should be going back to work, right? So the thing about wanting to go back to work, what about my career and all of that? I was still sort of thinking about those things, and it really, actually, I was at a phase where I was completing another master's program in India, to get my license to practice in the country. So it was really important for me to finish it, and Anika, my daughter, was just born then. So it was this huge dilemma I was facing. Do I go back and and get my license, or do I just stay put and be there for my baby? And I think I gave it a real thought, and that's when I realized, no, I think Anika was, for me, my my biggest mindfulness bell. I think it just, that little girl is a very calm, calm, quiet soul, even when she was an infant, and I think that is what led me to really stop and become aware of where I was, and of her, and of the fact that here is where I want to be. I just wanted to be there with her. It's so interesting because in her company, that sense of rush, restlessness, all of that sort of would just melt away. And this was just a little infant, sleeping by my side. That's it. And that's where that journey into really practicing mindfulness and really living the life that I was intellectually wanting to live sort of began for me. So so that's where it all started, and I think creativity, mindfulness, and all of that, and my private practice, all of it is all bundled together now in this life that gives me so much more meaning, because I was able to stop, because I was able to stop and just be there with my baby. So, yeah.
I cannot tell you right now. I was jotting down some notes because there were so many gems in what you just said. There was so much richness there in everything, and I felt like we could talk for hours about some of these things on here, just to explore that single topic. I am in awe of the way that you described that. and in the path that you have taken. And I'm going to touch on some of these things, and we will just run with where it goes, because I think that there is so much wisdom in anybody who is listening to this along some of these paths, because so many of us are in that do mode. I think that's what a lot of us have been taught, is to be successful, to be someone. We do out in the world. And that's only part of it. There's the other part where you had mentioned of just saying, here is where I want to be. Here is where I want to be. And that's absolutely beautiful. There's the wellness component to this, where you had mentioned stopping long enough just to be okay. I think that is where so many of us fall into a trap, that we pause long enough to feel like we can keep doing, instead of just fully pausing and dropping fully into the experience of what this means. And it can't, sometimes it's not going to be comfortable, but that pause, that stopping can happen to us a lot of times unwillingly. The birth that you talked about, the death, we're like, no, wait a minute, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep doing something, but something comes in and hits us up alongside the head, and we have to stop and pause in that moment. And there's something that's so fertile, that's so rich in that pause, where we stop and we're just like, here, okay, this isn't the most comfortable thing, this isn't what I've been taught to do, but here's where I am, and here's where I'm going. And I would love to hear just a little bit more, if you're comfortable about sharing, in those times when you were, I'm blown away by all this. After you'd been to the U.S. and got your master's in yoga teacher training, and then you have like a 1-year-old at home and all of this, and you're in this second master's program, and your little one, Annika's at home, and she, is there, and like that, how that transition happened for you from do to, oh my gosh, she's here, I want to be here with her, and how that kind of uncomfortable change time, what that looked like and what that felt like to you.
Okay. I think once I made the decision, I think the decision was the most difficult thing to make, because I think we are all so scared of making like a big decision, because what if you're wrong, and what if we don't want to live the kind of life we say we want to live, and choices are really dangerous things, because it means we're responsible for the path that we're taking. And I think it was really important for me to realize that regardless of the path that I take, I am responsible for my life. And that's it. I just took a decision that, you know what, I'm going to just stop. I took a year-long break from the program, and it was the most beautiful gift I have ever given myself. And it was amazing, Lisa, because I think once the decision was made, everything, like all the tension in my body just like left. I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to be there, with my daughter, with whatever was unfolding. And it has been a huge gift for me, because that is where everything, like, I think as a kid, as someone growing up, I've had a very difficult sort of a teen life. I've been a very angry kid, not knowing what to do. Have always been this kind, felt like I didn't have a voice, and that 1 year of break really got me in touch with myself. I think slowly I had begun to. So little babies sleep a lot, right? So in the times that Annika would have her naps during the day, I would read. I would actually go on the internet. I was really seeking for connection with like-minded people, and that's where I met you, and that's how I met you. And I slowly also began to uncover this need um, to draw, to paint. I would have visions of colors sort of popping up in my head, and I would want to do something about it. And as a kid, I've tried a lot of sort of medium, but I stopped because it was just like a hobby, right? um, but sort of, but this was just being quiet, being present. I was able to sort of look into um, that that almost crystal clear waters, like if you're quiet, if there are no ripples in the water, you can see through. And I mean, I felt like that is what was happening for me. And so that's when my journey with creative journaling, with painting, with writing, with mindfulness, all of that just sort of unpacked itself. And everything was such a gift to just become quiet and allow so much of richness that is present within, to sort of unfold itself. So it was the biggest gift I could ever give myself, and I'm so grateful for that. So, yeah.
I am just in awe. That one decision. I love how you talk about the decision. It was an action based off something that almost seems like a deeper calling. I loved how you had talked about being in the intellectual stage, of understanding things. I think both of us have walked similar paths, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else listening to this is on this path too, of studying various things, studying spiritual traditions or yoga or, exercise, whatever it may be, and understanding it here and knowing that something is beneficial, but to make the decision to move into that, like you talk about, it's frightening because it's a commitment. It's a huge change. And we are far more accustomed to being comfortable with not change, with the status quo. I want to expand a little bit upon the creative nature that emerged from this. Right now, I've got to be honest with you. When you talked about like the lake, I want to paint. I want to paint ripple and get the smooth surface outwards because I want to remember that. I want to hold that vision in my heart. There is something that is so rich when you talked about the pause, the gift that you offered yourself. And you know that, I come from being breath, and, that's how I understand things now beyond my intellectual level. Breath is my way to embody something, to feel it. And when you talked about that, I felt myself breathing easier. I felt that just kind of flow, like, oh my goodness, yes, this is what it means. All of those things that you studied, the psychotherapy and the mindfulness that started coming in, this is what it means. And dropping into that stillness, I think all of us touch into that nature then to want to move from that, to create.
Yeah.
And it's not the false sense of creating or the forced, not false, but the forced sense of creating that we do out in the world that we're typically taught to, go to school, get a job, create a family, this. When we move beyond that and we can find ourselves in that still lake, and really see into ourselves, that creative urge comes up naturally. And we start going in between the cycle of stillness and creativity and presence and creativity, and it all kind of becomes one as we're moving out into the world. You talked about sensing those colors that you felt within you. There are a lot of creative people that I've connected with online. Like I mentioned, our journeys are somewhat similar. I had my kids, and I had to, I was forced into that pause too. And I'm like, oh, what do I do now? I got to do something. So I connected. And as I got connected with a lot of these beautiful, creative, and mindful people online, I started seeing reflected back to me how this life is possible. Mm-hmm. And I know that there are a lot of people who struggle with kind of like the difference between real life and the stuff that you write that we consider a luxury the creativity, the mindfulness. These things seem like, okay, well, if I've got time, I'll get to it, but I need to work on this stuff over here. This is kind of more important. So you wrote one. It's kind of like it's tying into this too, because when we come to that still place, we offer ourselves that gift, and we see ourselves reflected back. It can be terrifying. You wrote in one of your blog posts once about owning your greatness, and how that phrase itself can be kind of like uncomfortable because it's like ego-based type thing. But you spoke about the Marianne Williamson quote that I've written a few times, which I absolutely love. Finding our most powerful self beyond nature or beyond measure, and that can be one of the most frightening things to us. But you offered, when you were writing about this, you offered 3 kind of guideposts. You said trusting, simplicity, and doing the work. And I see that reflected in your process. You've lived the process. You trusted, you went simple, you dropped away, and you did the work. You did the creative work out in the world. That was entwined with your mundane moments. It wasn't like you stepped away from your life and said, okay, I'm going to go live up on the mountaintop now, and I'm going to do my work, and then I will return. You wove this in to your mundane moments. And I'd love to hear more as your creativity emerged, as you started moving into the world and offering to the world your classes, your art, your journals, all these beautiful things that you were doing, how that continues to merge with your mundane life, with how this trusting the simplicity and doing the work feels practical in your life, feels like something that you can actually do. It's not just here.
Yeah. I think that's such a great question, and I think it's something that I am continually digging into. Like, I feel like it's something that I understand at different levels, at different layers, at different times. Yeah. So this is how I see it. How do I sort of merge what I do with my everyday life? That's what you asked, right?
Yes.
So,
yes. In much better words, yes. Yes, good for you. Thank you.
So, I think for me, I think my pulse is my pulse are my children and my husband and I suppose my mood states as well. So I feel like if something is amiss, if my children are feeling cranky, they're a little sick, or if the husband's a little cranky about not having something that that he usually he would like at home or in our relationship with each other. I think that is a little bit of a mindfulness bell for me, because I feel like somehow I am in that state of doing without really checking in with myself and the people that I love. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I feel like when something is amiss, that I need to go back into myself and check in about whether what I'm doing is really in tune to what I want to be doing, or who I want to be. So I think that's where sort of trusting plays in, where I just trust that this moment that I'm given is an important moment. If it is that the children are crying and they're throwing a tantrum, and I cannot push that away, because there is something in there that I need to understand, I need to be with. So I have like post-its everywhere that say trust this. I have one right here.
I love that. Oh, I love that. That's gorgeous.
I forget a lot. We all do. I think in that sort of um, automatic pilot mode that we get on all the time, we forget um, the important what the important things in our life. So those are the things that I have sticky notes everywhere that say trust this, to trust to trust where I am right now, to be okay with it, to be okay with if I'm feeling restless, to be okay with that, to be okay with the fact that my kids are cranky and I have an interview or an appointment with a client like in 5 minutes. Um, I have learned um, that you know I don't know. It's interesting, and I don't know if I have the language to put it in words yet. But the fact that um, something is unfolding in my moment obviously means that something is unfolding in my client's moment. If I have an appointment with them, so it sort of plays so beautifully when you are able to trust that moment. We come together seamlessly, and if we don't come together seamlessly, something is up. So it's okay. So learning to trust the moment, to trust myself has been and continues to be something that I'm constantly learning every day. I have this little book that I made where I only write about my lessons in trusting. Like what do I need to learn about this moment if it is a difficult moment, or if I'm finding like quote somewhere that sort of empower me to trust the moment. I write that down. So it's something that I go to all the time to learn to be okay with uncertainty, to be okay with letting go, to be okay with really trusting whatever unfolds. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know. I kind of lose my words alongside you too. I think there is something, we keep talking about, moving beyond the intellectual, moving beyond here, and I think that really, really taps into something where we have to move beyond here, because trust goes into that wordless place. Trust goes into that place where it is just, it's pure experience. And I love, see, this is one of the many things that I love about you. You're just so real with everything. The cranky kids, the cranky husband, oh my goodness, we've we all have those cranky people in our lives, and the cranky moments when we're cranky. Oh my goodness, I can be yeah, I won't cuss on my first one here, but I do often. I can be a real not nice person sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And there are things that go on in life that are always these situations. Always, we are bombarded with things that we want to hold on to or things that we want to avoid. Things that are wonderful. We don't want this moment to end, and so we're going to do everything to keep it here. Or these moments that are just so horrible that all we want to do is change the situation. Get the child stop crying, get the traffic moving because we have to get somewhere, get dinner cooked because we're just so hungry, and being able to say, hey, it's not about what's coming in 5 minutes. It's not about whether or not I'm going to lose this beautiful thing that I really want to hold on to, or whether I can fix this problem that I think it's a problem. It is this. It's this. This is what life is. And trusting that this experience right now is where all of it is. It's not even the answers. It is what is. And there is something that goes beyond words there that is so rich to be experienced, so beautiful to be experienced. You mentioned, and I love, 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 your reminders. I find that is something that is so, so important to have reminders around, because it's not like in the middle of, when the kids are screaming that I suddenly have some beautiful thing here that, you talked about a mindfulness bell, I don't have my dong, and I'm like, oh, this is the perfect moment. Thank you for screaming and writing on the walls. I appreciate that. I can't do that. Just Post-its up around. I talk about, that's one reason I do art, having that reminder there, that presence. So I look at that in the midst of it, or I hear something in the midst of it. Do you
Yeah.
have anything else that helps you? Your practice is something that you go to. So
Yeah.
what are the reminders and what are your practice that help bring you back when all of these things are going on, so you don't get like attached to them, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I have an everyday sitting practice. Um, so I meditate in the morning, preferably. So my kids are really still young. So anytime and we co-sleep. So anytime I wake up, my kids wake up, especially in the morning. So it's been, I love to actually wake up an hour before and an hour before they wake, and have my practice and do that. And I used to do that when it was just Anika, my older one. But now I have two, and they both have different routines, and they both sort of wake up. Right now, they wake up anytime I wake up in the morning. So I try and I wake up with them, and I think an hour after sort of they are settled into their morning routine and they're sort of hanging around at home, I sort of steal some time away and I meditate for about 10 minutes. And I also get some writing time then. I like to write. So either before my meditation practice or after my meditation practice, I really just write. And I also have like a 10-minute yoga practice. It's only a 10-minute sort of stretching practice. Yeah, and I mean I think these three things are extremely crucial for my sanity. I mean, I really, I think days that I don't meditate and I'm upset, I steal time away and I meditate. I have to step out if something has upset me and I need to, I'm going to go crazy on my kids. I actually pull myself out and I go meditate. So yeah, and and every evening we all sort of go to the pool and have a good time there, and I get some exercise out as well, so that's a good thing. So I think, yeah, so really those are my everyday practices. I really, it's very important for me to have at least a 10-minute meditation practice as well as a writing practice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love those practices, and love even more so that you mentioned 10 minutes meditation, 10 minutes yoga, your writing practice, those really, really small chunks, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of times those can seem insignificant to somebody who's trying to get started. We have these images of what something should look like, like what
Yeah.
a yoga practice should look like. There's hour-long yoga classes, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to write for an hour in the morning, all this. And it doesn't have to be that way. I have found just the simplest, pulling out my mat while my daughter's getting ready for school in the morning
Yeah.
can make such a difference in the
Yeah.
few hours after she leaves, which then makes a difference in the next few hours, and it all kind of rolls on to one another. The meditation practice, those days where I don't get to the cushion or I don't even just get out for a walk. It doesn't even have to be me, sitting down, but that time where I allow things up here to settle and still just a little bit. If I don't have that, it's like all of the noise of the outside world plus all of the noise in here combines, and it just becomes this like construction site of so much, so much. So there's truly, I appreciate that you brought up. It can be little moments, it can be small times, but to incorporate that is sanity. It really is. I
Absolutely.
there's so much, and I was jotting notes. I mean, like as you're talking, I've got all these things written down that I feel like if I was on Twitter, I'm like, oh look, these are tweetables, or these things, but so much that I want to continue to talk to you about. But in honor of everybody who's watching this too, I know how difficult it is to stay focused for a long time. So thank you. I have a feeling I might schedule another one with you because there's just so much I want to expand on with
Oh,
you.
I
But
love
I
that.
wanted to kind of wrap up at the end too, that this series is about here. you know, is about being here and hear what we are offering to the world. And so I would like to ask you, kind of just off the fly, and don't mean to catch you off guard or anything like that, but do you have anything that you would like to offer to anybody about being present? Quotes, words, tips, anything, any stories from your own life, just anything that is an offering to help somebody else experience here.
Oh, I'm thinking about a couple of things, and I don't know. Um, I think, I think what we were talking about trust. I think that's it's an important um, message, I think, for myself as well as I'm sure for other mothers, for other everybody else who's watching. I think it's really important to trust right now, and to I think being breath, sort of to take a moment to just to stay with that in breath and that out breath. Just a minute. That is all we need to sort of recharge our batteries, you know. So yeah.
Thank you. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh my goodness. It's a frustrating thing. I can't reach out and hug you. It's so that's so frustrating. For anybody, I have just been, I cannot tell you how moved I am right now. And for anybody who wants to learn more, wants to connect more with this beautiful person, you can go to her website. It's AARATHISELVAN.com, and I'll be posting that up on Facebook as well too, so I can share that link, and wherever I post this, that link will be there to check out more just about the books, her classes, the journals that you can purchase. I wish I had my journal right here so I could show you, because they're absolutely gorgeous. But to connect more with somebody who has this kind of spirit in the world can be truly inspiring in your own world. So I encourage you to go do that, sign up for the newsletter, to stay in touch with Aarathi, because it's just amazing. So thank you so much for
So
joining
much.
me today, finding ourselves in this here. I really thank you. I'm honored.
Me too. It's such a pleasure to speak with you, and I wish, I wish I could actually sort of just drop in and visit you, have a cup of chai or something.
Well, here's to whatever may happen in the future. I'll leave that open with that. So, say thank you, dearest Aarathi.